This is my second video update for the day, and I am here on Mackenzie Beach. This is one of the most famous beaches in Larnaca, one of the most famous beaches in all of Cyprus. And to my right, you will see the airport, the Larnaca International Airport, and the planes, they fly down here this way and they land right there. And Mackenzie Beach, I'm at the end of Mackenzie Beach, by the way, so don't mind this. Where I'm going to take you is that way, and you're going to see what Mackenzie Beach is all about. Very, very famous place in all of Cyprus. And it's called Mackenzie Beach because a man from Scotland, Mr. Mackenzie, a long time ago decided to build a beach bar at this spot. And there was nothing else around when he decided to build his beach bar. And so the Cypriots, when they wanted to have a drink on the beach, they would all say, let's go to Mackenzie's. And over the years, this entire area, as it started to build up and more beach bars and restaurants started to open up here, it just took the name on, Mackenzie. And now it's just known as Mackenzie Beach. So Mr. Mackenzie from Scotland, he had vision. That is a true entrepreneur. He had vision. And his little beach bar turned into one of the most famous, one of the most popular boardwalks in all of Cyprus. And tourists, Cypriots from all over the world, people from all over the world come here to have a coffee, to go for a swim, and to see the planes land. Because as you're swimming, the planes come down and they land right here on the runway for Larnaca International Airport. So we're going to talk about some news items, and we'll talk about Boris Johnson giving more money to Ukraine. Big surprise there, but the surprise is where that money is coming from. We'll talk about Azovstal. We'll do an update for Azovstal. We'll do an update for Snake Island. What else will we talk about? We'll talk about a Mariupol soldier, Ukrainian soldier, who gave an interview to RT, and he said some interesting things. And we'll talk about the best sniper in the world. He was known as the best sniper in the world. He is known as the best sniper in the world. Goes by the name of Wally from Canada, and he went to Ukraine to fight. And he came back to Quebec with a very different opinion of what it's like to be involved in the conflict in Ukraine. So, and we'll do a clown world. We'll do a clown world with Italy. We have a good story with regards to Italy. So should we take a walk? Let's get walking. Let's get walking. And when there's music playing at some of these beach bars, you're going to probably see me speeding up, so that the YT algorithms don't get me, but they don't snag this video and take it down. So let's get talking about Boris Johnson. So Boris Johnson, big surprise after Biden announced that he's going to be giving another 150 million to Ukraine. Boris Johnson announced, well, Biden, I can do better than that. I'm going to green light another $1.6 billion to Ukraine. And now that shouldn't be a big surprise. Let me speed up here because we got some music playing, and the music, when the YT algorithms hear the music, it's not good for the video. So Boris Johnson is giving 1.6 billion to Ukraine, and that's not the interesting part. Boris Johnson came out with a statement, and he said the barbaric Putin regime, blah blah blah, is doing this to Ukraine, blah blah blah. And then he came out with the important line, and he said that Putin is also threatening European security with his actions in Ukraine. Now that's important, and it's important because the 1.6 billion that Boris Johnson is going to be giving to Ukraine is coming from a UK emergency fund. That is right. Boris Johnson is going to be taking money that should be in the UK coffers in case of emergency, 1.6 billion, and he's giving it to Ukraine. Just like that. Let me walk quickly here. The music always makes me nervous. Music in a video, especially pop music. So there's actually a famous beach bar called Amos Sand. A lot of people come to that beach bar. So that's Boris Johnson taking money that should be there for an emergency and giving it over to Ukraine. Why? What's the rationale? Well, because European security is at risk. And I wonder where those billions are going to go. Into Ukraine through the front door, out through the back door, and into the pockets of God knows who. So that's what's going on with Boris Johnson. And now let's, what should we talk about now? Let's do an update with Azovstal. We need to update with regards to Azovstal and Snake Island. So let's do Snake Island. The Ukraine military, it looks like the Ukraine military the other day tried to mount an offensive, a counteroffensive against Snake Island. And it was a big counteroffensive. I mean, it was a big deal. And they tried to take Snake Island, located right off of ODYSEE, an important strategic location. But the Russians beat them back. Now the Russians give some detail. The Ministry of Defense gave some detail as to everything they took out with regards to this counteroffensive from Ukraine. And they took out a lot of stuff. I don't know if it was that much. I mean, the Russians gave a pretty long list of things that they took out, from Tochka U's and helicopters and just all kinds of Ukraine military assets. I don't know if it was that much that the Russians took out, but the bottom line is that Ukraine tried to take Snake Island, and from what I understand, it failed. Now, at the same time, you had the offensive in Kharkiv, the counteroffensive from Ukraine in Kharkiv, which, if you believe it's a Russian fixing operation or some sort of Russian probing activity, then it would explain the Ukraine success in and around the Kharkiv area. But according to Ukraine accounts, according to the Ukraine military, this was a retreat from Russia. Now, why do I bring this up? I mentioned this in my video yesterday. I bring this up because I believe that these counteroffensives, the one in Kharkiv and the one in Snake Island, I believe that they were done in order to distract from what happened today in Popasnaya. Oh boy, a lot of people. I think this is the most people that that everyone's seen in Cyprus since I've been filming here, isn't it? Mr. Mackenzie from Scotland, look at what you've built. Incredible, incredible vision. So yeah, I think that that the defeat in Popasnaya, which is huge, is a huge deal. The fact that that Russia claims to have taken Popasnaya, I believe that everything that happened with regards to Kharkiv and Snake Island was being used as some sort of distraction or something to take away from what the Ukraine military knew was an imminent defeat in Popasnaya. So moving on from there, the final update with regards to Ukraine on the ground in Ukraine. And we're making our way towards the end of Mackenzie Beach. And we'll probably sit down towards the end of Mackenzie Beach there. And I'll read you some of the quotes from Wally, the Canadian sniper, and the Ukraine Mariupol soldier who gave an interview on RT. All right, we hit the end of Mackenzie Beach. So that's Mackenzie Beach. We'll find a place to sit down. And what was I talking about here? Azovstal. Let's do an update on Azovstal. So, from what I understand, the latest reports, and these are reports coming out of the DPR, Donetsk officials, they're saying that 182 people have been successfully evacuated from civilians from Azovstal. These are cool recycling bins, aren't they? Shaped like a fish. Collect the plastic bottles. Smart, I like it. So yeah, the update is 182 civilians have been evacuated from Azovstal. From what I understand, coming out of the Russian Ministry of Defense, is that that's pretty much everyone. This is what I'm getting. Maybe there's some more people here and there, but the Russian Ministry of Defense is saying, mission accomplished. We've gotten most people out. And where should I sit down here? Sit down here, why not? All right, this will be good. Sit down on these little rocks right there. So the other day, I believe it was on Friday, that you had a white flag, a car driving to where the Russian military was in Azovstal, and a white flag being waved. And from what I understand, it was the Ukraine military that's been stuck in Azovstal for all these weeks, and they came out to actually negotiate for the first time with the Russian forces. They put out their white flag, and they went to meet the Russian forces, and they talked, and then they went back into the catacombs of the steel factory. All right, there you can see the plane. No one knows what was said. No one knows if they agreed on anything. That's the update. We just know that for the first time, you have the guys in Azovstal coming out to negotiate. At least that's the story that we're getting. And Patrick Lancaster, who's reporting from Azovstal, he's on the ground in Azovstal, and he's showing that the Russians are not attacking the steel factory. So I believe that the narrative that was coming out from the Ukraine side of things, it was saying the Russians were attacking the steel factory. The Russians were saying, we're not attacking anything. Patrick Lancaster went there on the ground, and he showed that the Russians are not attacking anything. So I tend to believe the accounts of Patrick, because he's there on the spot, and he's filming, and he's reporting from the factory. So that's an interesting development. Let's see if we get any word as to what they said, or if anything was agreed between the Ukraine and the Russian military. Looks like we're coming to an end to this Azovstal drama. And I wonder if we're going to find out who or what is being protected in those catacombs. I wonder if the Ukraine military told the Russian guys that we've got these people, or we've got these guys down there, and so, you know, get us out of here, give us some good terms, and maybe we'll hand over these NATO guys. Something along those lines. I don't know. I'm just, you know, throwing stuff out there. Who knows what they talked about? Hopefully we find out. But Azovstal is coming to an end. It's coming to a conclusion. And yeah. That motorbike just came, parked right there, right in back. Always happens. Wherever I film, there's always, noise always finds me for some reason. I start somewhere quiet, but noise always finds a way to get in these videos. It's pretty cool, pretty interesting. So yeah, that's the update with Ukraine. I think that's a good update, and that pretty much gets us up to speed as to what's going on. I talked about Boris, update on Ukraine. Let's discuss the Canadian sniper, and let's discuss the Ukraine soldier from Mariupol who gave an interview to RT. So this guy Wally is like one of the best snipers in the world, if not the best. Spanish media said he was the best sniper in the world. The New York Post called him the best. They said that he was trolling the Russians and grabbing anti-tank missiles in a warehouse to kill real people. Like all of these strange, bizarre quotes about the heroism of Wally, the Canadian sniper. I have no doubt that the guy's probably the best or one of the best in the world. He's fought in Iraq. I think it said he actually was in Syria, or no? Okay, he fought with the Kurds in Iraq. So we got that. He fought with the Kurds in Iraq. And he went back home to Quebec, and he told La Presse on Friday that Ukrainian commanders didn't know what to do with foreign fighters like him. They were clueless. He started in one regiment, then he went to another in Kiev. He was moving around all over the place. He couldn't get food, he couldn't get ammo, he couldn't get proper clothing. It was just a complete S show. This is a quote from Wally. He said, you had to know someone who knew someone who told you that in some old barbershop, they would give you an AK-47. He said that even for the meals, it is often the civilians who provide them. So basically, he couldn't find food anywhere. He said that he ended up firing 2 bullets into windows to scare people, and then he decided to just come home. He also had this to say about fighting with other Ukraine snipers. He said, I told them not to expose themselves like that, but they weren't listening. I saw the shrapnel go by like lasers. My body tensed up. I couldn't hear anything. I immediately had a headache. It was really violent. So he was working with some other snipers, and it looks like these guys were not professionals like Wally. And he's like, don't expose yourself. But they exposed themselves, and the Russians targeted them, and it looks like all kinds of hell broke loose. So anyway, Wally saw that this was just crazy. He said, screw this, I'm going back to Quebec, enough of this, and that's that. But he said he saw a lot of desertions as well, a lot of corruption, weapons being sold, just all kinds of bad things happening in the Ukraine military. And that is a NATO-trained military, so keep that in mind. A NATO-trained military, which was in large part trained by Justin Trudeau and Christoforou. So keep that in mind as well. You're getting the first-hand accounts from one of the most professional, one of the best snipers in the world. He is telling everyone in Canada and the world what it's really like in Ukraine. Is anyone in the Trudeau government going to listen? No, they're not. They're going to continue to just plow ahead with their war plans. You have a Ukraine soldier from Mariupol who surrendered, and he gave an interview to RT. And he was basically saying that he was fighting in Mariupol, and his troops, his soldiers, were fighting alongside him, and they understood that Mariupol was surrounded. They understood that things were becoming hopeless. But the Ukraine military kept on promising him and his comrades that they would get them out of there and that they would provide reinforcements. And eventually, this Ukraine soldier said that eventually he understood that no one was coming to save them. Everyone had abandoned them, and the situation was over. And they surrendered peacefully to the Russians. Let me find some quotes from him. He said that Kiev has been telling troops besieged by Russian forces in Mariupol that help was on its way, while making no actual attempts to end the blockade of the city. This is what the commander told them. He's the commander of Ukraine's 36th Naval Infantry Brigade. And as I said, he gave this interview to RT. So keep in mind, this is Russian media, Russian state media, but this is supposedly his first-hand accounts. He said, Kiev told us to hold on, saying that the units that will lift the blockade are coming. They'll soon be here. The promise was made despite Zelensky's advisor, Arestovich, openly acknowledging in interviews that Kiev won't be able to save its forces in Mariupol. We were promised certain help. Naturally, this help didn't arrive. And this pushed us to come out. This is a colonel, by the way. This is what the colonel told RT. It was painful for the troops when they realized that they had been left for dead. But everybody, including myself, understood it. The guy's name is Baranyuk. Colonel Baranyuk. Alexei Baranyuk? 1 second. Do I have his name? His full name here? No. Just Baranyuk. Colonel Baranyuk, I believe. Colonel Vladimir Baranyuk. That's his full name. Colonel Vladimir Baranyuk. And his unit were tasked with guarding the northern outskirts of Mariupol, a strategic post city in the southeast of Ukraine. So that is coming from Vladimir Baranyuk. Yeah, they left them there. They left them there. They promised they would get them out, but they had no intention to get them out, because the strategy being employed by the Zelensky regime is to delay the Russians, to try and bog down the Russians in Donbass. That's the strategy. And the strategy involves sacrificing as many Ukrainians as possible in order to accomplish the weakening of Russia, as Lloyd Austin called it, or the prolonged insurgency, as Jake Sullivan outlined. That's the plan. So if they're going to have to leave people like Vladimir Baranyuk holding on to some sort of hope that Zelensky and his military is going to rescue him so that they can continue to keep the Russians preoccupied, well, the Zelensky regime is going to do just that. That is the plan that they have in place. Prolonged insurgency. So let's do a clown world here, and we'll wrap up this video coming to you from Mackenzie Beach. This clown world involves Italy. I think this is the first clown world that Italy has made. So congratulations, Italy, for making the clown world segment. Italy seizes 700 million super yacht linked to Putin. Sounds interesting, doesn't it? A yacht linked to Putin. Oh my God, what's going on here? Well, let's see what's going on here. Italian authorities seized a 700 million super yacht linked to Russian President Vladimir Putin on Friday, saying that its owner had significant economic and business links to prominent elements of the Russian government, according to the New York Times. Shekharazadeh, a 140-meter vessel that boasts 6 deck levels, 2 helicopter pads, a swimming pool, and possibly even an anti-drone defense system, showed signs that it was preparing to set sail from the port of Marina de Carrera on the northern coast of Tuscany. The Italian finance minister said an investigation had found the vessel's owner, the ministry didn't mention his name, threatened peace and international security. Quote, the person also undermined or threatened the territorial integrity, sovereignty, and independence of Ukraine. Law enforcement boarded the vessel late Friday to seize the expensive asset. Italian media outlets have reported that Edward Kudyantov, a Russian oil and gas billionaire, unsanctioned, owns the yacht. They noted that Kudyantov has close relations with Igor Sechin, an oligarch and close friend of Putin. So this is the yacht of someone who has not been sanctioned, unsanctioned, and he's friends of a friend of Putin, supposedly. A friend of Putin, unsanctioned, friend of a friend of Putin, who has now had his assets confiscated. Congratulations, Italy. You foiled the plot, the destabilization of Europe, the offensive against Europe that was being waged off the coast of Tuscany. The Italian authorities, they foiled the oligarchs' evil plots. Clown world. So I wonder what they're going to do with this $700 million yacht. Who is it going to go to? Ursula von der Crazy? Charles Michel? Boris Johnson? Maybe one of Boris's friends? Sullivan? Hunter? Is it going to go to Hunter? Who is it going to go to? This super yacht that the Italian authorities have seized. Mario Draghi? Perhaps Draghi's going to take control of it, or Christine Lagarde? We'll see. British Airways landing in Larnaca. Awesome. Yeah, it looks like it's BA. All right, everybody. I'll leave it on that note. TheDuran.locals.com. Take care.